I know I play with a lot of energy. Like I'm a match rating, for some gasoline and causing a whole fire.
Tell me about some of the things that you've been improving on the most during this offseason, because obviously you had one collegiate season to show what you're able to give to an NBA team, but you've only probably gotten better since then. You were able to show a little bit at the combine. So tell me a little bit about some of the things that you've improved the most on since the season ended.
I think the man factor is just my 3-point shot making ability. It's just a lot of reps. I changed my shooting motion a little bit instead of having a little bit of waste of movement, bringing the ball down on the catch and bringing it back up and just catching the ball and going straight up with it has been something that I found to be extremely consistent. And also my ball handling skills have improved as well.
How confident do you feel in your jump shot based on where you're at with it right now and how it's going to translate to the NBA?
I've always been extremely confident in my jump shot from high school to college and now into the NBA. It's just something that I found and, I'm extremely confident.
Tell me about how much you think that is going to play a role in your NBA game. Because I think in the college game, you were shooting a bit, you weren't afraid to shoot, but I think most of what you were seeing from you was dunks and layups. Tell me a little bit about what you think, stretching it out a little bit is going to be able to do to make you an even more dynamic player at the next level.
Extremely. It's going to be a huge impact. You have to have a 3-point shot to survive in the NBA. And, the NBA is becoming extremely positionless. A lot of catch and shoot threes, attacking mismatches and, driving the closeout. So a 3-point shot is something that everybody needs.
When you speak to NBA teams, obviously you've had the chance to do that. What's the most important thing for them to come away knowing about you, both on and off the court? Just both you as a player and as a person.
Yeah, I think character and morale goes a long way, especially in the NBA locker room. And, having a team of guys, a brotherhood that, you can bring into an NBA locker room and, just having, resilience and your work ethic and, just being a pro on and off the court. Because when you get in the NBA, you're going to have a lot of free time. And what you're doing in that free time is going to determine the type of player that you're going to be.
So you had quite a bit of different locker room experiences over the course of your basketball career so far. Tell me a little bit about your experience and what your role was in that locker room at Georgia last season. What was your role, kind of as a freshman, but as a high profile player and a leader in that team?
Oh, for sure. I like to lead by example. So, coming into Georgia, I wanted to find my voice a little bit. Silas Demery was, our leader throughout Georgia, and he's just a strong presence. And he's been in, college and being able to experience, the coaching staff and Mike White in Georgia. Him coming in and my brother being up there is, those are two of some of the guys that, when I'm on the court, Silas is always, holding me accountable in practice. And, so overall, at Georgia, it was just, being a guy who can, hold people accountable and, raising the intensity in every single practice.
I love it. And then before that, you were on what I think might be the greatest high school team of all time. Tell me a little bit about that group. You had a really special team. And obviously, we're seeing that you guys are all going to, well, not all of you, but many of you guys are going to be in the same room again in Brooklyn. So tell me about that Montford group and, what it meant to go through the draft process with them a little bit and kind of, your evaluation of what they're like as players.
Yeah, Montverde, the special thing about it is just we all made sacrifices to go to Montverde. We could have went anywhere and averaged 25 at a public high school, but we wanted to do something special. And, guys like Curtis Givens and Rob Riley and McNeely, Derek and Coop, um, we just have a special bond and brotherhood that will be able to break. And, having a coach like Coach Boyle pushing us, through the hard days and, carrying us throughout, thick and thin is something that I'll never take for granted.
And so obviously you guys had a lot of winning at Montverde. I think that, you're able to use length and athleticism to impact winning. In your words, how do you think that you're able to use, some of those traits that you have, some of those gifts that you have to impact winning basketball? And why do you think that's going to be something an NBA team is going to want to see from you when they make their decision on draft night?
Yes, sir. I know I play with a lot of energy. Like I'm a match rating, for some gasoline and causing a whole fire. So I just play with a lot of energy, and that is very contagious. When you have someone who plays really hard, motor, doesn't really take plays off, that is contagious, and you see all the top teams doing that. OKC is doing that, and how they play with camaraderie, a brotherhood, and they take advantage on defense. So just coming in with that mindset into the league, is I don't know what it's gonna look like until I get there, and that's the beauty of the game, that's the beauty of life, and something that I'm super excited for.
You've had a lot of great basketball moments and highlights from the last few years. Is there any moment that really sticks out for you, whether it was high school, Georgia, USA, or anything like that? Even just a practice that stands out as like, this is one of the reasons why I love doing this?
Yeah, I think it was just a March Madness game, for Georgia being able to help lead a team back to the March Madness, and just being able to share a court with my brother is something that's super special. And I got a couple pictures out, hang up on the wall, and remember forever. And just being able to play with my brother is something that I love doing. Started at Choctaw High School, and now at the collegiate level is something I'll never forget.
One of my favorite things about your game is that you make it look really easy by being such a prolific finisher on layups and dunks. You score efficiently near the basket. What is it that allows you to really simplify your game to just get to the basket and score so well at such a high efficient rate and clip?
I think it's just my mindset. Being able to have smaller guys or bigger guys. It's in the basketball game. There's a bunch of little mini games, and you know, when you have someone bigger on you, I can use my speed and quickness and touch. And if there's someone smaller on me, I can kind of take my time and punish a smaller defender. But it's really just a mindset. A lot of reps that I've been doing in the gym and countless hours that's just being paid off and being shown in the court.
100%. And during the NBA draft combine, you did test really well with your agility. How do you use your agility on the other side of the court to be such a versatile and switchable defender? Because I think that's one of the most interesting things about your game too. Is I think you'll be able to guard multiple positions at the next level.
Yeah, started in the CrossFit gym with my dad. Just with that footwork and soccer, I played soccer growing up, swimming. So I just done a lot of coordinated, sports, and I don't know. That's just how God gifted me with this tremendous ability, and being able to move my feet, and I just think it was just how I was raised and how I grew up through different sports.
How much did being a multi-sport athlete help you, and would you advise that to other people who are looking to become professional basketball players like you're about to become?
100%. I say definitely do soccer because it definitely helps with your footwork, and just staying in the gym, doing a lot of agility, ladder drills, or you know, when I used to live in Destin, my dad always used to take me out to the sand on the beach, and just being able to move your feet and having the right coordination. Coordination is just the highest factor that you need to be able to have agility.
At what point did you decide to stick to basketball? Was it a growth spurt that you hit or something, or when did you decide basketball was going to be the one that you were going to really pursue as a full time basis?
Yeah, in sixth grade, when I decided to cut everything off and just focus on basketball, I think that's when I started. It was when I would move to Destin. I kind of just fell out of love with the game of soccer and swimming, and I just love watching basketball. So I decided to try to take it seriously, and now here we are.
Do you think you could have been a pro in soccer or swimming if you really put your mind to it?
Yes, sir, for sure. Soccer, I'll definitely be a goalie or a striker. Getting some corner kicks and head ins, and swimming. You just look at Michael Phelps; he has a long body, and that's something I feel like I could do as well.